Good morning. My name is Councillor Emma Parker and I am Chairman of Dorset Council's Licensing Committee. Thank you for joining us today for this virtual hearing. Can I please elect a chair for this meeting this morning, and I propose Councillor Les Fry.
And I should like to second that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will pass over to Councillor Fry. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. As said, I'm Councillor Les Fry. We've got an echo somewhere. Can you two hear my echo?
I could. Try it again.
Is it gone now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to drop in. I'm Councillor Les Fry from Dorchester West. My colleagues are...
I'm Derek Beer from Shaftesbury.
And Emma, you've already introduced yourselves.
Yeah.
For everybody listening, please, we do have some connectivity problems, as with all virtual meetings. What we're going to do, if anybody has any problems when they're speaking or anybody drops out, we are going to pause the meeting. I've asked for George, one of the support people working on this meeting, to call out very loudly if anybody he appears to have dropped out or have connectivity problems. And at that point, we will pause until they re-engage again. Councillor Beer, Councillor Parker, you happy with all that?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Right, I would now like the council officers to introduce themselves, please, starting with the committee clerk.
Morning, I'm Elaine Tibble and I'm with the Democratic Services team.
Thank you very much, Elaine. The legal representative, please.
I'm Philip Crowther, I'm a senior solicitor.
Thank you very much. The report author, the licensing team leader.
Hello, I'm Aileen Powell.
Thank you very much. And we've got environmental health present.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Vanessa Gibbard.
Thank you very much. I will now ask the parties and their representatives in attendance to introduce them, starting with the applicant, please.
Hello, councillors. My name is Jonathan Smith. I'm a solicitor from Poppleston Allen. I represent the applicant.
Thank you very much. We've got Ben Solomon.
Good morning, I'm Ben Solomon. I'm the General Manager at Sandford Holiday Park.
Thank you very much, Ben. Stephen Griffiths.
Stephen Griffiths, I'm the Estates Director for Park Dean, as in the buildings and the structures that we've now put in at Sandford Holiday Park.
Thank you very much. Pete Stedman.
Hello, I'm Pete Stedman, Head of On-Park Experience for Park Dean Resorts.
Thank you very much. Anthony Best.
Hi, morning. Anthony Best from In Acoustic, who I've undertook the noise assessment for the licensing application.
Thank you very much. We've already heard from Vanessa Gibbard. Debbie Weller, please. Debbie, if you could try and work out how to unmute, we will come back to you if you can continue that. Tracy and Vince Berridge.
Yep. Good morning, Vince Berridge here.
Thank you very much. Gary Player. Morning, Gary Player. Can you hear me?
Yes, hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much. Peter and Hayley Browning.
Hello, Hayley Browning here. Unfortunately, Peter's had to go to work today.
Thank you very much. And Debbie Weller, are you there still? We did see you earlier, so I am assuming you were on the call. If you can.
She is still showing as being there, Councillor Fry, but she's still muted.
Thank you. We will assume that she's. Have I missed? Hello, Debbie.
I see. I'm sorry. I didn't realise I was Councillor Les Fry. According to that, yes, Debbie Weller, Clerk for Wareham St Martin Parish Council.
Thank you very much. Have I missed anybody? No, I assume that I have caught everybody there. Thank you. And we have covered the responsible authorities, environmental health. Thank you. Right, I would just like to do some housekeeping, please, and ask that you all please follow the following ground rules for this meeting. Only speak when invited to by the chair. If you have not been introduced before, please state your name. Please mute your microphone and turn your camera off when you're not speaking. After each party has spoken, the chair will go around all parties, starting with the members of the subcommittee to see if there are any questions for the speaker. and I will try and give everybody a chance to ask questions of each party as we go round. But if you have nothing to say, can you please say nothing to add so that we can move on? We have a lot of people in this meeting today, and I would like to keep it relatively on track and on course, please. If you want to speak at any other time, please type RTS, which means request to speak, in the instant messaging bot, and make sure you send it, and I'll ask Elaine of Democratic Services to keep an eye on that chat bar. And can we keep background noise to a minimum, please? That's anything else going on in the background, and turn off all mobiles and alert sounds on your computer. Thank you very much. Do we have any other apologies, Chair? Elaine.
Sorry, no apologies, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of interest?
No, Chairman.
No, Chairman.
And not for me either. Thank you very much. Do we have any urgent business?
No, Chair, we don't.
Thank you very much. The case that's before us today is the Sandford Park Club at Holton Heath. I'm now going to ask the licensing team leader to outline the details of the application, include details of any withdrawn representations. Aileen, over to you, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have no withdrawn representations to advise you of, but I would just like to clarify what's on the licence and what is being applied for, because the current licence is quite complicated and the application is a little, or it was for me anyway, a little misleading. The current licence application restricts the alcohol sales 3 ways. For the main entertainment complex, which is towards the front of the site, it is from 10 AM in the morning to midnight for the sale of alcohol. There are then 6 residential weekends consisting of a Friday through to a Sunday that occur during the summer season of May to October, and they can run alcohol sales from 10 AM to 2 AM. There is then the pop-up bar restaurant area, which is towards the back of the site, as my understanding of what the front and the back of the site is, and that is for, again, during the season, May to October, from 10 AM to 10 PM. The entertainment and the late night refreshment include all indoors and can be up till 3 o'clock in the morning. This variation is to add outdoor entertainment to 11 PM, even though the application form does show hours longer than that. There is no change to the current alcohol sales on the licence. It's also to amend the indoor plans and to show where the outdoor areas where the entertainment is to occur are. There are 4 potential conditions contained in Part M of the application and relate to fitting a noise limiter for the outdoor system, monitoring the noise and following the noise assessment. But I need to point out that the effects of the Live Music Act 2012 and the Legislative Reform Entertainment Licensing Order 2014 means that most of the entertainment is actually exempt entertainment between the hours of 8 AM and 11 PM when there are up to 500 people in the audience and the premises is open and licensed or authorised for the consumption of alcohol on the premises. This would apply to plays, performance of dance, live music and recorded music, but not to the films. The 2012 Act also states that any conditions relating to any of this entertainment would not have any effect between 8 AM and 11 PM. There is, however, a safeguard within the Licensing Act that if there were to be a review of this premises licence, then those provisions of the Live Music Act could be reversed. That's all I want to say at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aileen. Councillor Beer, have you got any questions for Aileen?
No, I don't think so. I think I've got the grips of that. Thank you.
Councillor Parker.
No, Aileen's covered any concerns that I had around the licence. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Have the applicants got any questions at the moment on what Aileen has said for Aileen?
No, I don't. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you very much. Have any of the other people represented here at the moment got any questions at this moment for Aileen?
None, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I will ask the applicant to present their case.
Thank you, councillors. Can you hear me okay and see me all right?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much.
Super. To save some time, councillors, I don't think I have a time limit, but I'm proposing to present the case myself. I have a number of people here with me, but they largely are to answer any questions that may be raised by yourself. But for the sake of brevity, I intend to present the case myself. Could I just make one request to speak, sir, if you don't mind? I'm not too sure of the procedure. I assume I go first and then those making representations follow me, but do I get a chance to sum up at the end, having heard the representations, and what order is that heard in? Do I sum up last, presumably, as the applicant?
You will get a chance. Everybody, you will present your case, then everybody gets a chance to question everybody else, and then everybody else will get a chance to sum up and make the case at the end of the afternoon. And I will give you any chance, any further chance, if anybody has anything relevant to say that at the same time, because we want everybody to feel that at least whatever the outcome, they have been heard today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So it's an application, thanks Eileen. It is quite a complicated licence in terms of the conditions and hours on it, because there was an extension sought and granted back in 2017 for 6 solus weekends, is what we would refer to them. They were 6 one-off weekends when the premises are then permitted to sell alcohol up to 2 o'clock. But the application before you today, just to stress what Aileen said, is there is no application to extend the hours for the sale of alcohol. I think 3 or 4 of the representations mention extended sales of alcohol. We're not seeking to extend them. What we are asking, though, as you can see from the plan that's part of your agenda, is to licence an outside area, and I'll come on to that in a moment. The other application, or part of the application, and this is quite simple, councillors, so unless anybody wants me to dwell on this, I don't propose to, is to approve some minor internal changes within the complex. It was part and parcel of the same application. So very briefly, the sales office has been enlarged in the complex. A storeroom has been added around the reception area. There's a kids shop near the show bar, and that's been enlarged. The kitchen server has been made larger to help service. A lobby has been added into the show bar, clubroom, toilets, and we've got a new pottery, arts and craft room that's been created on the first floor of the complex. So I don't intend to dwell on those. There's been no representations from any of the authorities about those works, and indeed none of the residents have raised any concerns. So that's one aspect, if you like, the simpler aspect. And then the second application is to, or second part of the application is, as Aileen has said, is to license the outside area. And you've got a licensing plan in your pack, and I'm sure you've seen it. It's drawing 8036-800C, which shows the area that we are applying to license today. And we're applying to license it for the sale of alcohol and also various forms of regulated entertainment from 10 a.m. Until 11 p.m. And those forms of entertainment are plays, films, live music, recorded music, performance of dance, anything similar to those, and also the sale of alcohol. Now, as has been pointed out to you by a licensing officer, and it's mentioned in your statement of licensing policy in a lot of detail, actually, on pages 30 and 31, paragraph 6.62 to 6.69, that the Live Music Act, other than the showing of films, permits regulated entertainment of the forms described between 8 in the morning and 11 p.m. for up to 500 people. It was part of the deregulation of entertainment that was introduced in 2012. And that goes for plays, films, live music, performance of dance, and also if the area is being used for the sale of alcohol and open for the sale of alcohol and license, and also recorded music. The bit that it does not extend, so the bit that is still subject to an application, would still needed to be approved, would be the performance of films, because that is not covered by the deregulation of entertainment. The conditions also, as Eileen has pointed out, that the conditions are also actually suspended as well. Obviously, they wouldn't be suspended in terms of films, or if suddenly you started playing music at 7 in the morning, but we're only applying for it for 10 o'clock anyway, or if suddenly you had more than 500 people watching the entertainment, which we certainly don't expect. So the conditions are largely suspended, but can be ignited. They can be resurrected. They can be imposed and suddenly come into existence if there are complaints and if there is a review of the premises licence bought by environmental health and they ask for those conditions to be imposed. Now, Vanessa, I'm sure your environmental health is going to point this out to you, and indeed she'll be under a statutory duty to investigate if there are complaints. What I would say for the record, councillors, and this is the tricky bit for you and for I, is that whilst those conditions may under the Live Music Act be suspended until they're imposed as a result of a review or otherwise, that for the record and for the minutes, we will still undertake those items that are contained as conditions in the premises licence, and I'm more than happy for that to be noted in the minutes if you were minded to grant the application. So regardless of the fact that, yes, the law, I'm afraid it's a strange thing, the law, we want to offer these conditions, we want to do these things, but the law says, well, actually they're suspended between 8 and 11 for these forms of entertainment. But those conditions, which I'll come on to, as I said, you can record in the minutes if you're minded to grant it, we will observe them. So the external area that you can see on the plan, and hopefully you've had a chance to have a look at it, or you've got it open in front of you. The rationale behind this is a total of a £3.2 million investment that Parkdean are putting into Sandford. And you've got Stephen Griffiths, who is the Director of Estates and Development, on the call if you need to ask him to answer any questions. But of that 3.2 million, £2 million is being invested in enhancing the area around the complex, and in particular the swimming pools, which obviously isn't subject of the application. We're also putting in a new crazy golf, an indoor archery area, refurbishing restaurants, but also we are spending a significant amount of money on that outside area, and we're introducing things such as climbing ropes, more seating play areas, trampolines, there's bungee jumps going in. You can actually see the trampolines which are on the plan, it's the circle there. The other things fall outside the licensed area, and of course things like bungee jumping, trampolines, children's play areas, that they're not covered by the Licensing Act. But of course, spending a lot of money now on outside areas and introducing more outside areas has never been more important than current. And with the COVID regulations, we are keen to be able to serve and service customers sat in that area from a bar. And you can see on the plans what's called a bar horse box bar. So it's like a horse box bar, it's 5.3 metres long, it's not big, has a limited range of alcohol. But the benefit of having the horse box bar, so having an area that's licensed that you can have that in, is that staff who are working in the area will be able to take drinks dispensed from that bar to tables. Of course, from the 12th of April, when premises can start to open outdoors, people have to be sat down. Any orders have to be taken while sat down. You have to pay while sat down. And Parkdean are introducing, or they have already introduced, an app that you have on your phone or iPad, and you order through the app. So you order through your app, and then the staff will bring the drinks to your table for you. Now, at the moment, if we were not to license that area, the staff would have to go into the complex, into the bar, and then come back out with the alcohol as an off sale. Clearly, that's not particularly helpful for COVID. Now, following the 12th of April, when we get into inside opening on the 17th of May, and we go further and beyond, from the 17th of May, of course, you can then go indoors. But of course, with COVID regulations and the guidance, we will be significantly reducing our capacity indoors because of the 2 metre rule or 1 metre with additional safeguards. So it is important that we have an outside area, and it's important that we have the facility to be able to take alcohol to the tables from that outside area, because even from the 17th of May, whilst you can go indoors, I imagine a lot of people would prefer to sit outdoors and enjoy what I'm sure is going to be a fantastic. Can you still hear me, Councillor? Sorry, something just popped up. Just to be clear, sorry, I can't hear you. You're muted, Councillor Fry. Something just popped up. Can you hear me okay still?
Yes, we can.
Sorry. The area that's outlined in red, you can see there, that was used, councillors, as a seating area by guests of the park last summer when we were able to open. People were sat there drinking or able to drink alcohol, soft drinks, or just enjoy sitting in the area without drinking anything, because they were able to do that by way of off sales from the bar inside. So it's not an area that hasn't been used before. You can see where the area is, and you can see the main reception, which looks out on the main reception faces out onto Ongerford Road. The main reception is to the right. This is to some of the residents refer to as being at the front. It is at the side front, I guess you would say, of the complex. And you can see there's also an able structure and a stage at the end of that able structure. That's where the entertainment is proposed to go. If you have a look at the acoustic report, councillors, which is in your pack, there's quite a useful aerial view on page 10. Do you have that, councillors? So if you have a look at page 10 of the acoustic report, it's an aerial view, and if you compare the aerial view with the detailed plan 8036800C prepared by ARA Architecture, you can see the external canopy area is with the green dot. That roughly, I believe, is where the stage roughly will be. The small stage will be roughly where the green dot is. And you can see the complex area. If you can see some white dots between the complex and MP1 and R1, that is the front of the complex and reception, where you would walk in to the front reception area. So that's the reason. It is a significant upgrade of the park, as I said, 3.2 million. It is to the front, to the side. I think residents have said, well, why can't you move it elsewhere? There is no other room in the park to put the entertainment area, this outdoor entertainment area. We do have a pop-up barbecue area, which is in the middle of the park, that's already been referred to, but there is no room to put this other area, which is already includes play areas. I think a number of the residents have complained about the noise from the play areas and children in the play areas. But again, because that's not something you're responsible for or licensing. You can see additionally there is a seating and play area with a food container. So around about the middle of your detailed plan 8036800C, you can see there's something that says food container. So it's also the proposal, although that doesn't need licensing because it won't be open after 11 p.m, to also have food available out there as well. So to stress, the area has already been used for people to drink. The difference is there will be a horse box bar there. That will provide better service and better supervision, because there will be somebody in that when they are selling drinks, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic drinks. And other than the showing of films, the area is subject, and because we're only applying till 11 o'clock, is subject to the deregulation of entertainment. From the 12th of April, when we can open, staff won't have to go inside, and from the 17th of May, when you can go inside to enjoy your food and drink, people can still sit outside. The legal officer and licensing officer has already explained the circumstances behind the Live Music Act and the consequences of it. The fact is that we are going to offer to install a noise limiter, and I will come on to that shortly, but the noise limiter, councillors, will be used in respect of all amplified entertainment. So that will cover films, so you can impose that, you can impose whatever you want onto conditions, but that would bite in terms of films. But regardless of that, and regardless of the fact that the conditions are suspended by law, we will still put all amplified sound through the limiter, and I'll go on to what the entertainment will be shortly. But of course, if we do cause disturbance, as Vanessa will point out, as I've said before, a review can be bought and those conditions can be imposed as now on the licence, because we can lose the benefit of the Live Music Act exemption. So what sort of entertainment are we looking at? Well, I have confirmed this to Vanessa, Environmental Health Officer, but during the peak season, which would be Easter, summer holidays and Whitsun, Typically in the afternoon, you will have the resident entertainment team from Sandford, who may dress up as children's characters. There's the troops that they do their dance performances. They will generally provide family entertainment. There will be quizzes. There might be a circus workshop. You may also have some vocal live music. In the evening, again, you'll have resident entertainment teams. You may have a movie on the screen, on the stage, a quiz, they do prize bingo, a circus show is put on as well. And on occasion, probably once a week, we may have a live music, a live visiting music act on the stage. All of which, because it's all amplified, there's a microphone being used, or well, there will be a microphone, unless it's unamplified, which obviously then is again completely unregulated, and you can't put anything unamplified through a noise limiter. Clearly, it all goes through the limiter. Off-peak, councillor, so off-peak would be May to September, outside the Whitsun, Easter and summer holidays. So it'd be any other time between May and September, and also probably a couple of weeks around Christmas in December. What may happen then is on a Friday, a Saturday and a Sunday, you may have the resident entertainment teams there during the afternoon and in the evening on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and occasionally as well during the week, maybe once or twice. Again, you may have the entertainment team on stage doing what they do. In December, outside May to September, in the week or two in December, then there may be the occasional entertainment in this outside area, up to about 7 p.m. for some sort of Christmas shows. But clearly it's getting a bit cold come December, so you won't be out later in the evening cold and dark. So outside Easter through to September, with a week or two in December, the area won't be used for regulated entertainment. So that's the proposal, and that's the sort of entertainment we're looking at. We were conscious, having made the application back 4 years ago, back in 2017, that we would need to establish that there was not going to be any noise disturbance to local residents. And so as part of the application, before we lodged it on the 1st of February, there was an acoustic report prepared, and that's within your bundle, councillors. I know some of the residents, those making representations, said they weren't able to view it. I don't know why. I guess that's just how your council website works, but it was submitted with the application. And Anthony Best, who prepared the report, is on the call, but I will very briefly go through it. It's quite technical. Well, I've seen a lot more technical reports, so this one is quite easy to understand, so well done, Anthony. But to just highlight some sections to you, councillors, that on page 7 of the report at 3.1, Anthony just identifies the 3 noise sensitive, he calls them residential receptors, the areas where you've got to be conscious that they will be the closest in terms of where any musical noise may escape to. And then you can see on page 9 of the report that what Anthony did was, on the 7th and 8th of January, at a point closest to Ongerford Road on our land, because it had to be on our land, he undertook noise background readings. And as Anthony stresses at paragraph 2, the survey was undertaken during the pandemic, meaning road traffic movements were suppressed, giving the data set used to derive the background sound level statistical robustness. And also, of course, the park was closed. So in terms of picking a worst case scenario as to how low background levels would be, you probably couldn't have picked much of a worse date than the 7th and 8th of January, but that's good because in terms of noise on the park and general traffic noise and life noise, when we get back to normal life, will only be more than those measured on the 7th and 8th of January. And then a music event was also simulated on the 7th of January, and various noise readings as a result of that were taken at the measure points 1, 2 and 3. And taking those readings and looking at the noise levels, Anthony has established on page 13 of the report, in the last paragraph, that due to the background noise levels that were taken in January, the noise limiter has to be set at 84 dB. Have you got this on page 13, councillors, because it's quite important. On page 13, it must be set at 84 dB during the daytime period between 7 and 7 p.m. and 73 dB during the evening from 7 p.m. till 11 p.m. Now, I've done quite a few of these in 25 years of licensing, and 73 dB, from my own knowledge, is one of the lowest I've seen in terms of how low a noise limiter will be fitted. But we are where we are, councillors. We haven't got anywhere that we can put the entertainment. This is where we'd like to put it, but we've got to be conscious of the proximity of residents, which is why the limiter is set, or will be set, at 73 dB. So on that assumption, you can see that on pages 14 and 15 of the report, there's a nice sound map which sort of shows how loud the music will be with the limiter set at those levels. And then on page 17, which is the final conclusion, if you like, on the assessment at paragraph 6, Anthony sets out what the music levels was at, noise sensitive points 1, 2 and 3, what the daytime background and evening background noise levels were at 47 and 36, what the code of practice indicates is acceptable, so you can have +5 on the background levels, and in the final column, whether that's more or less than the code of practice would suggest. And that's why you can obviously make sure, and of course you'll say, well, it's a bit strange, it's 0, -2, -1, you just managed to get under those figures. That's because the limiter was set at those figures to make sure it fell under those levels. So that is Anthony's assessment, and he is on the call. But if it proves that that's still too loud, well, we will have to, by law or face the wrath of the environmental health officer, the noise limiter will have to be further adjusted, otherwise we face review and enforcement action. But to stress, at the moment, without this hearing, without any action, we could carry on amplified entertainment by way of dance, live music, recorded music if the area is licensed, plays, bingos, quizzes, compares, children's plays, children entertainment. We can carry on all of that without any need for permission. But what we're saying to you is we will put everything through the limiter. And it's a strange one for you, councillors, because you'll say, well, that's great, put a condition on, but Eileen's already said that's unenforceable. But again, I stress again for the second time, we're happy for you to minute that limiter will be put on. It'll be a tamper-proof limiter. And we've offered the conditions, which Eileen's mentioned, which are in your application, sorry, our application, councillors, and it's at the end, towards the end, the conditions are set out. And the conditions that we've put forward are that outdoor entertainment will be operated within the parameters defined by the acoustic report. So that will include the noise limiter being fixed. And it will be fixed at number 2. We say a noise limiter will be fitted to the outdoor sound system so that sound levels cannot be exceeded. And that will be a tamper-proof system. You can't start changing it, councillors. We're happy to agree as well, because I have been in correspondence with Vanessa, that we're happy to fix the noise limiter despite the noise report. We'd be happy to fix that in agreement with your environmental health officers from Dorset Council. Number 3 is during the periods of outdoor entertainment, we will periodically monitor noise levels by using handheld or own calibrated noise equipment, and these will be documented in a noise log. And Vanessa's asked or suggested that ask the question, where will you record any noise complaints? If we had any noise complaints from the outdoor entertainment, they would be logged in the same noise log. And at number 4, you'll see that we will retain that noise log for 12 months and make it available upon request by a responsible authority. And the final thing, that it's not a condition there, but that Vanessa has asked, is that we should have a contact number available. I believe, having read the representations, there have been contacts made already by residents to security or to the reception desk, that there is already a telephone number, both daytime for the reception area and evening for security, but that would be reminded to residents at the start of each season, councillors. So that's my submission to you initially. I will deal with representations perhaps in my summing up when I get a chance to, because until I've heard from those making representations, it's rather difficult for me to comment on what's said there fully, particularly when at the moment the environmental health officer has simply asked a series of questions. So I don't know whether the environmental health officer is still objecting or not, councillors. So I'll leave it at that for now, on the understanding that I will just deal with representations during my summing up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. It's appreciated your time there. Thank you. Right, councillors, do you have any questions for Jonathan Smith? Councillor Beer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Smith. You quite rightly and correctly drew our attention to all the measures you've had to put in place or feel it's right so to do for the COVID regulations. And you talk right up until the end of that, or that when the restrictions are due to come off. How do you see the future or the necessity for the horsebox bar beyond that, or is that just a COVID something to do with the COVID issue that we're all dealing with?
Well, councillors, now we would like to retain the horsebox bar. It's good for supervision, not least because you've always got somebody in it. Please bear in mind we're only asking it till 11 o'clock anyway, so it is no. Don't get me wrong. We would like it beyond COVID regulations, particularly as people can legally drink out there anyway. And I suspect, councillors, there will be many. I hate to be a pessimist, but I suspect that we will be with this awful pandemic, this awful disease for a long time to come, with people wanting to sit outside and not being comfortable inside. So we would like to keep the horse box bar, and it is not just something for COVID. So,
thank you.
Any further questions, Councillor Beer?
No, thank you.
Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Jonathan, for your report there. It's really useful. Just clarify about the alcohol for off sales. Is that going to be actually for off sales of the park, or is that just going to be within your licensed area within the park?
Do you mean from the horsebox bar or what we've currently got, Councillor Parker?
No, on your obviously on the application that you've put forward, it's for alcohol sales on and off.
Yes, if you have a look at the plan, of course, the red line, Councillor Parker, is drawn around that area. So if I was to purchase something from the horsebox bar, and say it was a bottle of wine, I would be able to take it from there outside the red line. As soon as I go outside the red line, that is an off sale. But it's nothing more that you could do from the complex at the moment. You could buy yourself a bottle of wine and take it back to your caravan.
Okay, thank you. I had another question about as to where the events were going to be taking place outdoors, but you've covered that. Can I ask how many residents you house there, sort of peak season?
I might have to now ask, I'm sorry, these are sort of the questions that I'll have to just ask probably Ben. Is that Ben? Are you able to answer that? You're the new part. Ben only started, to give you an idea, councillors, in December, so he's quite new to, well, he's very new to the park. So Ben, sorry, could I ask you to deal with that one?
I think it's hard to decipher exactly how many. We have 300 fleet units that can accommodate anything between 2 and 8 customers. We also have the 329 touring pitches, which again can accommodate between 2 and 8 people. As an average, when I asked this question, when I took on the role, we could have up to 4,000 to 4,500 people at peak times on the park.
Okay, thank you. you know, obviously mentioned quite a lot about the outdoor entertainment. I mean, you're probably not going to be able to answer this, but in peak season, is it likely to be something that's going to be every day, sort of like till 11 in the evening, or would you be looking at later night ones, sort of like Friday, Saturday, and generally the other ones would be sort of around about children's entertainment?
I'll probably let Pete Stedman deal with this one, Councillor Parker. Certainly during the afternoon, and Pete's head of entertainment and experience, he'll be able to answer it all. I think during the afternoon it tends to be more family orientated. As I said, we would only have what you might regard as a live band on, I believe, once a week, but Pete will be able to confirm that in terms of more adult entertainment. But Pete, can I, hopefully you're there, Pete, can I ask you to come in on this one for me, please?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Sorry, my computer crashed.
I don't know whether you got the question. Are you able to expand on the nature of the entertainment, Councillor Parker asked, and the regularity of it during peak season, in the afternoon and in the evening?
Yes.
Peter, sorry.
Yes, of course, of course. Good morning, everyone. Yes, we in terms of the outdoor entertainment, it's primarily going to be focused on our peak season periods when it would be in more abundance, obviously when the children are on holiday. So during the daytime, effectively the outdoor stage area works like a bandstand. So there will be anything from our characters on the stage. You know, you've probably seen mascots, our giant rabbits, and entertaining the children as a bit of a spectacle. We will have acoustic musicians, and there will be things like when the weather's good, they'll do like the quizzes outside. They might do an outside dance class. It's things like that. Hobbies and interests will be done from there as well. Sometimes that will be non-amplified. It will just be people sitting with some background music and having, you know, me addressing people it'd be like me addressing you now, like this, without a microphone. And other times when there's a larger audience, they'll have a microphone. And so there will be sometimes when it is amplified. And then in the evenings, it turns more into an al fresco experience in terms of the sun's going down. So there will be live performances from our resident entertainment team. So resident guitarist, they're like outside concerts. When I say outside concerts, they're like you know, two people singing duets, that type of thing. And we have our movie Under the Stars that happens twice a week, which is the outdoor movie theatre. So people grab their popcorn, they sit down and they watch a movie outside. Obviously, something that the UK, when the weather's good, is a good thing to do, to go outside. And then in peak season, there are also we would also have some selected times when we would have a live band, whether it's a folk band or whether it's a covers band, like a sort of thing you might get at you might see at a wedding. It's that kind of, you know, a 60s band. There'll be an element of that in there. That would be sort of a weekly event that would go into. So there's a real plethora of different events that go in there. We have a schedule which we have provided to Jonathan, which obviously outlines specifically where that would fit. But primarily there is a daytime focus, and then there is an evening focus that sort of starts around the early evening period, and then a lot of that's down to the weather. If the weather's cold, you'll find that will finish earlier. If it's a nice sunny evening, it'll obviously go on later, still within the terms of the license, wherever we end up with that, of course.
Okay.
Thanks, Pete. I think one of the entertainments I saw on the schedule, Pete, was ABBAfest, which obviously you can guess that's an ABBA tribute band.
Yes.
Just one more question. Do you get sort of regular concerns or complaints from residents that are, you know, just outside the vicinity of the park?
I'm aware, and I think Vanessa will correct me here, because I learnt this morning that Vanessa had some complaints in 2018 and 2019. Now, I have, through licensing, checked whether they were made to head office, and we haven't been able to find any reference to complaints to head office in 18 or 19. I do know in 2017 myself, Councillor, that there was an issue with the speakers, that there was some speakers on the outside by reception, and they were disconnected. That was in agreement and discussion, I believe, with local residents. That was removed. Now, we also, and I'm sure the local residents will refer to this, there was also an unfortunate instance, I believe, where a band turned up on a lorry, on a truck, basically, dropped the sides and started playing completely in breach of the contract and not what they should be doing. So that was in 2017. And also in 2017, I believe there was a movie Under the Stars, and I think it was Finding Nemo, when residents could hear that as well. I have to stress, however, none of those events, councillors, went through any sort of noise limiter. We did not ask the band back again, and we have not done any more movies Under the Stars since, until we were able to look at getting this stage area in place with a limiter. So we have not done any more of those.
Yeah, would you say with the conversations that you had with the residents around sort of a couple of years ago with the issues, that you managed to come to sort of like an understanding and there was sort of like a mutual agreement there?
The residents, this is where I'm slightly at a loss, and I'm sure they'll confirm when they speak. The residents referred to discussions 2 years ago. Now I was involved 4 years ago when we made the application for the Solus events to 2 o'clock, these 6 events. I don't know what discussions there were 2 years ago, and I think they must have been, if they were 2 years ago, done with local management and the then General Manager, Councillor Parker, who was a gentleman called John King. He is, obviously it's been rather difficult with COVID and places shut. He is no longer employed by Parkdean, so I don't know what conversations they may have had 2 years ago, so I'm sorry about that.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you for asking my questions. I don't have any more questions at the moment. Thank you, Councillor Fry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I'm looking at the map, the green Sandford Holiday Park Touring and Camping map, Mr. Smith, and I just want to get my bearings on where looking at the whole site, if you've got a full map on screen that you could bring up at all, or any of your colleagues could at some point during this discussion, just to get my bearing where in relation to the road and where everything is, because you've got some very detailed maps about where the inner parts of the building are going to be changed and altered. And I've got a really good layout of the site here, which show me the plots and individually, and I'm looking on my screen on page 49 of the pack. Have you got one that shows it? Because I understand the site goes to, it's only half the site we're looking at here. Is that correct?
Are you looking at the plan that says welcome to Sandford Holiday Park Touring and Camping?
Yes, I am.
Right, that won't help you a great deal. That plan is solely in there, so because that shows you the pop-up barbecue and bar area that was licensed 4 years ago. So can you see the red hatching that's on there?
Yes, I can.
So that is part of the license and just shows you where that area is. So in terms of the whole park, I don't think we have one, and there's not one attached to the license, and there's not one which is in your bundle which shows the whole park. I guess the best one you've probably got is page 10 of the acoustic report, which is quite a good aerial view. And now I'm obviously not a local. I'm from Nottingham, born in Stoke-on-Trent, councillor, so I'm not from Dorset. But
which part of Stoke-on-Trent?
I was born in Burslem.
I know the vicar there.
I was born in Burslem Hospital, but I'm not a Port Vale fan. So if you have a look, can you see that plan? So where you've got so it's not a plan, it's a picture, it's an aerial view. On the acoustic report on page 10.
Yes, got it.
So if I'm driving from the southwest to northeast, I don't know what that road number is, so apologies, but if I'm driving up that road and I turn left down towards MP1 and R1, that's Ongerford Road, I believe, and then you have the you can see then the complex building towards the top middle of the plan on your left-hand side as you're driving down there. Now, what you can't then see, councillors, is you have to drive further down before you then turn left into the entrance to the park and come back on yourself to then reach the main reception area. The area, as you can see, is where the external canopy area has got the green dot on. The caravan, now this is, I have been to the park a couple of times, the caravans themselves in the park, I believe from that building, if you were to look due west on that aerial photo, that's where, if you like, the predominant or most of the caravans, the residential guest accommodation is to the west of that building, and also that's where the pop-up barbecue area is.
Okay, it would have been helpful for us looking at the whole picture to have one as part of your application for future reference, because then you get a perception of what the area is like there. And it's a shame we've got to rely on the audio report to get that overview.
Chair, excuse, can I just interrupt? There is a Google map within the pack that will actually show you the whole site. If you'd like me to share it, I can try and do that so you can see it on screen.
That will be helpful, please. Thank you, Aileen.
Just bear with, I have to select the right screen. There we go. So can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
So this, I believe, is the main holiday park area. So this would be the area that the outside entertainment will be. And then this is the pop-up area right back here.
Right, okay. And where is the nearest residential areas from the pop-up area?
Oh, that is a good question.
Shall I, if you go, move your cursor due east, and I'll tell you where it is. East. Keep going.
That way. Yeah.
Yeah, that way. Sorry. Yeah, towards the. If you go up now, up.
Yep.
Can you see? And can you see those are the premises on Ongerford Road there, councillors?
That row there.
That's. Oh, it's called Wareham Road there. I thought it was Ongerford Road. I'm sure the residents will confirm, but I thought that was Ongerford Road. So that is residential accommodation. I think you've also then got one or two representations from people who live on St Martin's Hill. So St Martin's Hill. So if you move down, that's a yes. I think there's a couple of people who objected from there, councillors.
That's very helpful. So so looking where the pop-up bar is likely to be, if you put your councillor email back there, where is the nearest? Is there anything to the west of that at all, or are we going into the forest there? Or Elaine?
Yeah, I've just had a message come up here from Gary saying that the nearest area is south Sandford Drive.
Is that there?
That must be Sandford Drive. I can just see it above. If you look at the Google there, and then slightly up to diagonally up. Northwest there on that angle, just above your cursor. There's some properties there. Looks like it.
There.
Yeah.
I don't think they're as close. Don't think they're as close, councillors, as the premises on Ongerford Road. I might be wrong, but if you put your cursor back over where the entertainment area is, if you just go back to that's right. It's a bit to the left. It's between the two buildings, so it fits. Yes, it fits in there. That's right.
No, and what I'm looking at is the area from there. I can sort of work out where the houses are from that point where the cursor is now to the east of those. But if we've got music from the pop-up bar as well, so I wanted to take both into account there, because there will be music.
Oh, sorry.
See what I mean?
There's no application at all for any entertainment from the pop-up bar. That is not the subject of this application.
That's fine.
Just to be clear, I should also say, of course, arguably the closest residents, of course, we do have people staying on park who are the closest people who are actually staying there, councillors, which is all that area. So I think each of those little rectangles you can see, I suggest they're probably caravans.
No, and that's what I assume there, but I assume that the people are there for holiday and relaxation, and they're there for a period of time which might be agreed, which might be a week, 2 weeks, or longer. Elaine, do you want to come in?
I've just had another message come up from Debbie Weller saying that the road from the traffic lights is Organford Road and not Wareham Road. Wareham Road is along the A351.
Right, thank you. Okay, thank you. That answers my question. I'm going through that. Aileen, do you have any questions for the applicant or any of the team, please? I'm going to treat the applicant's team as one team, and if we have a specific question, Mr. Smith, perhaps you can direct it to the right person. Councillor Beer.
Yeah, may I come back with a question? Do you mind?
No, carry on.
Yeah, we've heard in great detail and all the measures in place to limit sound and all the right things. We're all like caged animals. I know I am and my staff are. We've been caged for a year, and we can't half wait to get out and party. And obviously, you can't regulate the sound from really excited guests. And you touched a nerve, which made me think when you said sundown entertainment. And sundown entertainment, of course, means sundown. And by nature, the residents will be going to sleep and whatever, but the others will really want to party and going for it. Are the team, and I don't suppose, Mr. Smith, this is your question, but probably for one of the others, are the team really geared to making sure that the music is winding down music towards the end of the day? Have you got measures in place to control those really excited people who've got all those pent-up feelings to people maybe coming away before they get married and all that sort of stuff? People behaviour, they generate lots of noise. What have you thought about that? Or what's in place for that?
If I answer first, councillors. Yes, we have, and I think Peter will be able to confirm this, and Ben, that in the last half an hour between 11 o'clock, it wouldn't go right up to the end of 11 o'clock, and as Pete's already said, it much will depend upon the weather. So the last half an hour, certainly things will be being cleared up and wound down from 10:30. The actual, in terms of people's behaviour, I'm sure you've all seen pictures, not least in Nottingham, actually, of students in parks who have been leaving litter and everywhere. Who can legislate, councillors, as to what people's behaviour will be? I stress again, however, it's already an area we can use. There's lots of other things going on in that area, like climbing ropes, bungee jumping, trampolines. Yes, it's an area. It's an outdoor area on a holiday park. But yes, in terms of the entertainment, again, I stress, I guess, councillor, that most of it's unregulated anyway, so we could still have the performance of dance. Even if you refuse the application in its entirety today, we still have live music and performance of dance. But yes, for the record, we will start to play it down from 10:30 at the latest, councillors, with everything done and cleaned up. The bar obviously would have to close by 11 o'clock as well, the Horsebox bar. I have to stress, councillors, in terms of Horsebox bar, it's a 5.3 metre long bar, I think, that sells a very limited range of alcohol. It's not, please don't think that it's got lots and lots of craft or beer and lager on taps all along it. It is a horse box, so you can guess how big that is. Pete, have you got any comments on just generally the entertainment and how you wind things up towards the end of an evening?
Yes, I think it's important that, when we put entertainment onto any of our holiday parks, and obviously this is this whole piece we're doing around outside in terms of the equipment we're installing. It's not just the equipment and the entertainment itself, it's also the procedures that we put in place around operating, in terms of both the setting up, the operation, and obviously the winding down and closing down. So obviously, it goes hand in glove with things like, training, but actually the entertainment itself is scheduled to fit the time. So for example, as Jonathan's already said, if we're going to put something on the stage on an evening, everything that we do in that piece of entertainment is timed and scheduled to fit into that particular space. So if we're doing, using the ABBAFest as an example, which Jonathan picked up on earlier on, which is, Mamma Mia the movie, and there is an ABBA tribute band that will be on the stage. That doesn't go on until 1 minute to 11 o'clock in the evening. The reality is that you will have the band on first, which is the louder part of that. If being honest, that's a live band, so therefore you've got that's always going to be the louder part. That would be on the earlier part of the evening, and then later you would then follow that with the movie. And the movie is like watching on TV; it's all at one level of sound. So that would then go on, and then that would finish in sufficient time for customers then to go back to some background music, which is very low level music, just to keep the ambience in the space whilst customers are finishing their drinks. And hopefully we don't have to ask people to keep their voices down. Now hopefully they'll just be having chats by that stage. So that's just one example of how we would run that particular evening. I think the other thing as well is microphones sometimes can be seen as a power of, are seen as a noisy item. But there's also the thing called the power of a microphone. we can actually, to a certain extent, we can actually guide an audience in how they operate. Subliminally, this can happen to all of us. But if we're all going to watch if we're all going outside and taking advantage of the outdoors, you know, all of these events are hosted. There is a presenter, or there is a master of ceremonies, if you like, and to a certain extent, you still control that audience by regular announcements, regular updates, and to a certain extent, you're still able to set out the rules to an audience, even if they're there in a social environment. They're on holiday. We don't want them to feel like they're restricted, but actually they are restricted more than they probably realise, just simply because we are setting the event up with parameters and rules which are around our policies, procedures, and the entertainment itself, whether that's the person with the microphone in their hand guiding the audience, the type of entertainment we put on the stage, and the scheduling. So I probably a bit of a waffly answer, but I think it was really important just to give you sort of a couple of examples there in terms of how we would operate an evening's entertainment.
Thanks, Ben.
If I was just thinking in terms of how life tends to be, and I totally accept what you said and what your plans are. I was just thinking in terms of what life tends to be in real life when you go to a music event towards the end of the evening, just before they wind down. There's the massive wind up. You're going to go home and think about this. This is going to be splendid without the disciplines and winding down. So if you've got policies in place, that's good, as long as the entertainers understand that and they don't whoop people up. They've got a job to do to cheer people up and make sure that they are really, really happy. You've also got a job to do, as you say, and rightly recognise, to look after your other residents and the residents who live locally. And it's quite a balance at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, isn't it, when people have been chained up, they've locked up, shall I say, and they've gone out to enjoy themselves first off. I think the pressures will very much be, won't they, on the Master of Ceremonies to get that about right. And there's a lot of pressure this year.
Yes, and if I could just add one point on that, Jonathan, on behalf of us, and Councillor, you're absolutely spot on there. Let's not forget that we have our holiday makers who don't all want to partake in what's happening outside. So, you know, there will be people in accommodation close by that may also, for that very reason, that winding down scenario you've given there also is important for the holiday makers themselves. So that, by definition, to a certain extent, means that we have to try and cater to as many people as possible, including those that don't want the live entertainment at that particular time. Perhaps, therefore, we have to make sure that when we finish the entertainment, we're taking into consideration all of our customers, not just those that might be sitting immediately in front of us enjoying it. We have to think about those as well. So there's an element of self-regulation there in terms of ensuring we don't damage entertainers, customers in front of us, but we damage our business because we're also doing things we're going on too late, or we're finishing with too much high spirits, like you said. We have to, that wind down process is very important for those customers on holiday too.
And sorry, one other thing, Councillor, two other things, Councillors. I don't want this to get into a COVID discussion or guidance or regulations, but I don't know if you saw that there was revised guidance published on the 26th of March again for people working and performing in entertainment premises. And at the moment, since when places can reopen, there is the guidance says you should not be having entertainment. So to answer your question, Councillor B, will everybody be there wanting to enjoy it? The actual guidance is, of course, you can't put entertainment on that is likely to mean people are shouting, screaming, backslapping, high-fiving and dancing, because that will be in contrary to the guidance. And of course, the other thing to remember is, councillors, if you are drinking anything from the 12th of April, you must be sat down. So you've got to be served, you've got to pay, and you've got to drink and eat sat down. So whilst everybody may want to go out and have a real rip-roaring time, there is guidance and regulations, and Part D do have a whole host of risk assessments which are all approved by North Devon. I'm sorry, that's North Devon, not Dorset. North Devon in terms of their primary authority for their risk assessments. And please do bear in mind that in terms of supervision, it will be better if you've got the horse box bar. You've got a horse box bar there which will have staff in it to also keep an eye on things. And if you are naughty, and if you do misbehave and overstep the mark on policy, you can on the park, you can actually be be kicked off the park, councillors. You can have your holiday terminated, and that is in the terms and conditions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. I mean, I am aware that obviously COVID regulations comply at the moment, but hopefully we will not be in this situation for too much longer, but your licence will last a lot longer than the COVID will, I am hoping, whatever the situation is. Councillor Beer, anything further on that?
Yeah, that's good answers. Thank you very much.
Right, we've now got two people waiting to speak. Elaine was first and then Aileen. I'm happy to take either one in whichever order you like, but Elaine was up first.
Thank you. Well, I was just reporting on a couple of more comments. One is saying that Sandford Drive has residents who can now see the caravans of the park due to the removal of some hedging. They would be the closest to the pop-up bar. And there's a request to speak from Hayley Browning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll take Aileen first.
Thank you, Chair. It was just one question for the applicant. My understanding is this is not the only entertainment area. Can you explain what the balance is between the main area, the building, and what will happen outside?
Obviously the complex can go up to 2 or 3 o'clock, I think, Aileen. I'm going to have to again probably just return to Pete for this one. I'm sorry, councillors, to keep going off to head of entertainment. The one, if I could just make a comment on Sandford Drive, which can see caravans, which are the closest to the pop-up bar. If that is the pop-up bar and barbecue, I stress again, councillors, there is no request to change anything in that respect. So just to stress that is not subject to the application. But Pete, do you just want to explain what might go on differently indoors than outdoors? Pete? I know Pete's been having trouble with his connectivity, councillors. Could we come back to him? Because
we will come back to him. I'll just take Hayley Browning, who's got a question at the moment. I'll take a question, and then if Pete wants to come back in when he's got his stuff sorted out.
I am on WhatsApp. I apologise, councillor. It's very difficult when you're not with clients sat in the same room as you.
I know we all. This is the joy of virtual meetings for us all, Mr. Smith. So
I didn't really think I was being rude if I'm not looking at the screen. I'll find out what's going on just on WhatsApp.
No, we're all on different screens as well. Hayley, I'll come to you just a second. Elaine, you had your hand up.
Yes, there's another request to speak from Debbie Weller.
Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give all the people here on this meeting an opportunity to speak shortly. So I'm going to go to Hayley Browning unless she wants to come within the rota that I have on my front of my screen.
Oh, thank you, Chair. No, I would just, to be fair, Councillor Beer has probably answered some of the issues that I was going to pick up on. I just want to clarify that the Horsebox Bar, that is going by the outdoor swimming pool area, which is close to the main leisure complex. Is that correct?
Yes, it's on the plan. I think, councillors, it's as part of your bundle. It looks like a horse box, and it's just to about 1 o'clock of the existing ice cream parlour between the indoor swimming pool and the main complex.
Okay, and so when the Horsebox Bar proposes to be closed, will the complex inside still be serving and selling alcohol, which the guests can then take outside to sit on the seats in the outside area or be served there?
Yes, they will, but they can do that now, councillors, in any event. This isn't a review of our existing licence, so we shouldn't be subject to restrictions placed on the complex and the licence we already have. So we already have the permission for on and off sales, and there's no reason why that cannot continue, councillors.
Okay. And just, the issues I was going to pick up on that Councillor Beer raised was just the optimistic view that you have regarding the ceasing of chatting and shouting of people once the entertainment has stopped. Quite often we've already witnessed in the past that it's, yes, the music might stop, but the noise from the actual people that have been attending the event still carry on making noise, for quite some time afterwards.
Thank you for that, Hayley. Mr. Smith, do you know if the site, and you may need to refer this, has signs up encouraging residents to keep quiet and be considerate to neighbours?
I'm probably going to have to detract to Ben there, but I would imagine so, because of course they've got more neighbours of their own who are paying guests there, so they wouldn't want to make sure that they are going back noisily. And I think they also have park security, but I might have to ask Ben to answer that, councillors. Ben, are you okay to take that? Hopefully you're still there.
Yes, I am. Yes, there were signs, and there have been new signs that are going up because of all the cladding around the building and the new structures. I've instructed a company to produce new signage for each of the outdoor areas adjacent to the boathouse, as well as the Able structure.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have park security as well, Ben? I imagine you do, because your parks have security.
Yeah, we do. We have security internally and externally. Externally operates from 6 p.m. through till 8 a.m. in the morning as well.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I'm just going to go around. Aileen, do you have any more questions for the applicant at the moment?
No, thank you, Chair.
I'm just going to go around the list, and if you've got any questions, and I appreciate many of you will have your own point of view, and that can come shortly, but at the moment I'm just looking for any questions for the applicant, and within the applicant I also include within that Ben, Stephen Griffiths, Pete Steadman and Anthony Best all together there. So if anybody has any particular questions for them at this moment, other than the points you want to make, please say so. So I've got Vanessa Gibbard. Do you want to have any questions at this moment?
Good morning. No, it's interesting to hear from Jonathan. I have actually been in contact with Jonathan because I had quite a list of questions that I did want clarified. One thing I did want to ask is that, Jonathan, you did say to me that before the actual season starts, a pre-season letter will actually go out to all the local residents. Would it be possible that I could see a copy of that letter as well?
I don't see why not at all, Vanessa, to answer your question. And we would include in that letter, which I believe the previous general manager, sorry, John, who's Pete, I'm still waiting to reply to me, is that we would also include any of those soulless events where we provide the alcohol beyond midnight 30 that we were granted permission in 2017. They would be included in that, Vanessa. And yes, more than happy to send you the letter.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions at the moment, Vanessa?
Not at the moment, no.
Right, I'm going to go through my list of people. Thank you, Vanessa. Of people who may have questions for them. If you have no questions, please just say no questions at the moment. Debbie Weller, Wareham and St Martin Parish Council.
Thank you. Yes, I do have a couple of questions, if I may. One is the letter that is going to be sent, Mr. Smith, does that go to Sandford Drive, Organford Road, Station Road and St Martin's Hill, to those residents?
We will be guided by you. We have, or I believe, bear in mind the general manager is no longer with us, but I believe it's gone to Organford Road and St Martin's Hill and the Parish Council in the past, advising of the events during the forthcoming year. I mean, we'll be directed by you. You will know. Do you mind if I call you Debbie? You will know better. You will know better, Debbie, where the letter should go to. It doesn't cost us anything to print off more copies of the letter. You probably wouldn't want it emailed, which would be easier. So we'd be guided by you where you feel is the most appropriate place to provide letters.
I would be happy if you could email the letter to me, and by all means send out to the ones that you already know, and I'll make sure that it goes to all the others if that's of any help.
Yes, thank you, Debbie, of course.
Another one was, I didn't quite catch how long the security is available on site. I got it from 6 p.m. Was that through to 8 a.m. or 8 p.m.?
No, it's throughout the whole night, Debbie, that they have security. Obviously, things may unfortunately happen occasionally in caravans that people are noisy, so they have park security that goes throughout the night. I know that myself without having to ask Ben the question.
Two more questions. One is, it appears that there have been complaints. I do know that residents have actually gone to reception. They tried using the phone number that was given to us by John King. They've not had much success in actually getting their request for turning the noise down taken seriously. So could you please tell me who we should tell the residents to actually complain to actually have some effect?
I believe, well, certainly from looking at the representations, I mean, certainly I'm aware that we disconnected the speakers. I think that was in conjunction with with residents, to be fair, so we did that. We haven't been able to move the play areas that I know some residents would like us to move, the children's play areas, but that's not really for this committee to comment on. The telephone numbers you have is for the reception desk during the daytime. That's the 01202 number that we'll provided, and I've told Vanessa's got these numbers. And then the mobile number is to the park security, who are there all night, of course, head of security. I believe as well, I'm going to defer to Ben here, but he's kindly, I understand, Ben, you're the general manager. You're happy to provide your email address, I believe, as well, are you not, to Debbie and to the roads that she suggested? It's oh, there you are, Ben. Are you happy to do that?
Yeah, 100%. I'm more than happy to have my email address. And what I've also done is ordered a new security phone that will enable Wi-Fi calling. The current phone that they've had for the last few years does have problems out on park with signal. We've just had a large investment in a Wi-Fi structure on the park, so the new phone will be able to be answered at all points of the park.
Ben, can I come in there on that in support of what Debbie has just raised? I welcome the opportunity for you to share your email address with people following complaints, but I know the very transient nature of employment and work, and wonder whether a generic system could be set up that stands the test of time, that when you get promoted and take over somebody else's job and run Park Dean Holidays, the whole company, and somebody comes in behind you, that email address and that system is still valid and still works. So it's not person related, it's organizational or location dependent.
I can speak to the IT department to get an email address set up that actually would just defer to a GM, or as as the minimum, I can just make sure moving forward that if whoever follows on from myself, that their email address is forwarded on.
The problem with that is, Ben, that you get promoted in 6 months' time. Communication is not always as smooth as we would like it. People like Debbie, who are at the key focal point for a lot of people, don't know that you've moved or the person that's coming in. And if they do, they've still got to cascade that new person's email to lots of people. It's better organisationally if you set up an email address, for example, that complaints or at Park Dean or something, or community information, that everybody who's in that responsible position has access to. So if you're on a day off, somebody can still pick up that email address.
Yeah, I'll speak to the IT department, because we can do that, because we use that for recruitment and other services.
Councillor Pryor, can I just confirm? I've just had a WhatsApp from from one of the directors on the call, Stephen Griffiths. Yes, that can be set up quite easily. It'll be something like general manager at Sandford is what you need, isn't it? Something like that.
It doesn't matter what it is. I am very sympathetic to the community around any area, and I'd like a fault-free process that means that anybody who has a complaint this month, next month, or in 18 months' time can still use the email address, and it hasn't gone out of date and it hasn't been changed, because we all know the story of the King's Close and things move on and so on. And I just want to reassure that Debbie Weller, who's in charge of Wareham Parish Council, that there is a robust system for communication should or when the need arise.
The answer is so, yes, it's very easy to set up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. I have just one more question for Mr. Smith, if I may. You say that the noise inhibitor, the lowest that you've known of, is 73 decibels for the evening and 83 for the daytime. And yet on the assessment, the code of practice criteria, you've got set at 52. So clearly the noise inhibitor could be set a lot lower. Have I read it right?
I think we might need Anthony to come in here, but I will try and help on that because it's quite complicated. The background reading, I believe, was 47. Just bear with me a second, Councillor, I'll just find it, Debbie. Just find it. So the background reading was 47. If you add 5 onto that, which is kind of the code of practice, 115, that gives you 52 at that point. Debbie. So what that means is that some music's obviously got to travel from the stage area to that point where it needs to be at that point, less than 52, which is why if you set it at 73 at that point, it will be 52, or sorry, less than 52 at the point where you need to worry about, because clearly there's a distance to travel from where you're playing the music to where you're actually doing the noise reading. I hope that helps. It's quite complicated. Do you want Anthony to try and explain it any more, Debbie? So
Maybe a little bit later, because I believe he's going to be speaking fairly soon anyway.
No, he's not. No, he's sort of part of my team, Debbie. So,
okay.
Anthony, am I right in saying that? Because I guess if you set the decibel reading at 52 on the stage, you really wouldn't be able to hear anything, would you?
Yeah, so I mean, you can have my Jonathan if you want, Jonathan, if you want, because you've just explained it perfectly. So basically, with any system such as this, and when I say system, I refer to the source, the path in which it travels, and the receiver. Obviously, the path in which it travels remains the same. So if you stop or reduce the noise at source, obviously the distance doesn't change between the speakers and the receptors, and air absorption and all these kind of things remain broadly the same. So if you stop it at source, you will meet that limit at receiver, which is where the 52 and so on comes in.
Thank you. That helps. The only comment I would make, and this actually happened, I think it was probably 2017, was that John Rust had said that he would check the sound outside. He went out during one of the events, stood out on Organford Road and said, yep, the sound was absolutely fine. People weren't complaining. What he hadn't reckoned on was the sound actually drifted up St Martin's Hill. So where you've got raised residences like St Martin's Hill and Sandford Drive, you may not get the sound down by the road, but you certainly do further up. I'm not sure what we can do about that.
Could I help Debbie on that? Could I answer that? Because that question has been raised by Vanessa, and I've responded to Vanessa with a plan showing noise measuring points that will be used by the park. Vanessa, I'm sorry, that hasn't been disclosed because that's just between you and I, but I'm sure Vanessa will be able to confirm that there are 3 points where the noise measurements will take place. And I do take your point, Debbie, as to where they are. Yes, there's one on Organford Road, and there is one at the junction. You know, I'm not local, but I think there's the crossroads, there's the junction going up to St Martin's Hill. One of those measuring points was by there as well, Debbie.
Thank you very much.
I take your point, you can't just measure it at one point when you might have music with the wind direction being at another place.
Yeah. Thank you.
Debbie, does that answer all your questions at this point?
Yes, Councillor Fry, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I've got Elaine wanting to ask at the moment, and then I've got Vanessa.
Thank you. Is there an opportunity for Hayley Browning just to make a couple of more points because she has to leave at 11:30?
Yes, I've got Vanessa wanting to come in. Vanessa, are you happy to wait for Hayley to say a few words, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, mine can be finished now. I was just going to say to Debbie that yes, the actual positions that Jonathan told me about, where they were actually going to monitor for noise, do actually include those areas. Okay, that's me.
Thank you very much. Right, Hayley Browning, would you like to come in now, please?
Oh, thank you ever so much, Chair, for giving me the opportunity to have a chance to make some comments. Just very quickly, I just wanted to make a couple of comments that I've picked on that the noise limiter, whilst you know that's great that the efforts are being made to put something in place, the noise limiter will only address the sounds that are being emitted. It's not going to address the issues of the shouting of the participants. And unfortunately, what we have witnessed over the years is that shouting, as the evening draws on, goes into swearing and stuff going on. And we have 2 children of school age, so that is of great concern to us. The other point I wanted to make was that there was mention with the events that mainly they were going to be during the high season. However, there was talk of them happening outside of school holidays on a Sunday evening and occasionally during the break. And as I've already mentioned, we've got 2 children of school age, one of which will be going into his GCSE year in September. So that is of great concern to us with the Sunday evening and the weekday noise issues that are going to be happening. But it's not just the noise, it's the traffic as well that's associated with it. And that causes dangers with the bus stop outside and our children crossing the road and that sort of thing. The other thing, I'm just running through quickly because I have got a meeting at 11:30. The other thing was the communications with the park. Communication has been very poor over the last few years. Some years back, we did get notification of events happening, such as the scooter rally, but we've not received any notifications from the park for at least 3 years, I would say. So the events just happen. We have no forewarning. We have no opportunity to change our plans if we wish to, etc. So when the events happen, we're sort of stuck here with them. And particularly the scooter rally is, again, the traffic issues, the smell and everything as well. It's really not very pleasant.
So Hayley, just to pick up on your point, whilst we got this there, Jonathan and your team listening, would it be appropriate for you to link in with Debbie, the Wareham Parish Council, to let them know of events that are future taking place, so that then Debbie can cascade it to members of the public that are interested and relevant, to keep the process simple?
Yeah, I mean, Kaz, to answer, oh, sorry, I've got my camera off, sorry. To answer the question, my understanding, and I stress again, unfortunately, John King left in December, is that notification was provided because these events tend to be on the same weekends each year, typically. That we have only had, although we could have 6 a year, in 2018, I think we only had 2 out of those 6 where we sold alcohol after midnight 30, and I think we had 4 in 2019. There wouldn't have been anything in 2020 because we didn't have any, not surprised by COVID. But yeah, we're more than happy to link in with Debbie, and it may be easier to do it through Debbie. However,
that's what I'm looking at.
However you feel appropriate, sir.
Hayley, does that fit in with that? If you knew that the events were taken on, if Debbie, the parish council, liaised with all the community and let them know, would that work for you?
Yes, that would do it. It's just having that communication and having notification of things going to happen, having the forewarning. And I think that's one of the things that we feel hasn't happened as local residents is we don't get any interaction from the park. They don't seem to want to interact with the residents at all. It's all about what's going on the park. And I know they've mentioned that they obviously want to keep things quiet for their guests, but they're only there for a very short period of time, those guests, and they are there to have fun, whereas we are here all the time, day in, day out.
That's very well said, Hayley. I appreciate your comments. I think you will appreciate we can have no control over the traffic outside or the noise and shouting, but we can ask the management on this meeting to be aware and responsible of the impact of their park on the wider community and to work with you. Clearly, there have been issues in the past and communication could have been better. And let's hope they will all take it forward in the way we're discussing now through a two-way exchange. And if they've set up the communication in, you'll better tell them when you've got concerns, and if they set up communication out, you'll know when events are taking place.
Yeah, no, that would be great. It is the communication, but it's just small points. I mean, I know it's not really relevant to the actual license application here today, but it's like the building work that has taken place over there. It has been noise and disruptive, and obviously I'm working from home now, and the children have been working from home. Again, there was no forenotice of that happening. It's just, you know, there's just no interaction whatsoever, thinking of the impact on the residents.
Hayley, so, your points are well made. Thank you for your time. Jonathan, I can see him back on screen now. I appreciate you've got to go, Hayley. Is there anything else you want to ask anybody before you go?
No, I think that's it. I mean, most of it was covered in the information that we sent through in our letter with the objection there. So it's just picking up on those points. So I'd like to stay, but unfortunately, you know, it's unfortunate the hearing couldn't be outside of core work hours. But yeah, no, thank you very much for letting me have time to say something.
Councillor, can I just one other thing for Hayley before she goes? I know you're rushing off, Hayley. I've just had some instructions. What we'd like to do, if Debbie's happy, we will send the General Manager to a meeting of the Parish Council prior to the season starting. We think that would be a great idea because then they could actually be at a parish meeting. I don't know whether we'd be able to attend, Debbie, but that would help to be there in person as well.
Yes, that would be useful.
Thank you, Jonathan. Hayley, is that okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Thank you ever so much for your time.
Have a good day. Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Right, back on track now. Vanessa Gibbard, Environmental Health.
Hello.
It's your turn to have the floor. Is there anything you would like to add to what's already been said?
Right, well, all of my questions have been answered. Basically, what I want to say and what I want to get across is that basically, if we do get complaints, if we do get noise complaints from residents, we still have a duty to investigate under statutory nuisance, so long as people are actually aware of that.
Thank you very much. And I think that's useful to know. And as you've heard, I'm very keen to open up a dialogue in and out of the park with the local residents so that everybody knows what is going on. And if we have a good communication system, then complaints can be made, they can be documented and recorded, and then be picked up by anybody who needs to see those complaints and the nature of them. And hopefully, and I'm sure that the management will act on those complaints to try and resolve them where they're appropriate, suitable and proportionate. Anything else you want? Anything else? Right now, I'm going to go back to ask the people if they've got any questions for you, Vanessa, at the moment. And if nobody has any questions, then we'll move very quickly on. Jonathan Smith and your team. Has anybody got any questions for Vanessa?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parker, Councillor Beer. Any questions?
No questions for Vanessa. No. I have got questions, but not for Vanessa.
Okay.
Vanessa, can I just ask, were you happy with the replies to your questions that you had?
Yes. The basically I ran through. I think they were actually on the web, weren't they? The questions that I actually put across, and yeah, they've all been answered. If need be, I would even do a visit when the entertainment is on myself. So just to actually see it from our point of view. Yeah. But yes, we will of course investigate any complaints that come in.
Yeah. And did you was there any particular comments that you came out of from the report that was done?
No.
Any concerns that you had?
Basically, my questions have been answered. The concern that I did have, I wanted to actually know the events when they are happening, so we are forewarned. Yeah. Yeah, the acoustic report was fine.
Okay, so in that respect, then, would you actually have any overall concerns with with the application that's in front of us now that you've been had all your questions answered?
No, I wouldn't, because with the noise limiter being there, it sounds very much like Sandford Park are on board to actually work with us. So if we can all work together on this one.
Good. That's great. Thanks for that, Vanessa. I appreciate your answers. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Any other questions at the moment? I'll take it. No, you turn it right. I'm going to go through the list at the moment. Vanessa, wait one, please, as they say. Okay. Debbie Weller, any questions for Vanessa that have not been aired?
I'm fine, thank you.
Tracy and Vince Berridge, any questions at the moment for Vanessa?
No, thanks. No questions at all. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Gary Player.
No questions for Vanessa, but I have some questions for Mr. Smith.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Hayley has now left the meeting, I understand. Is there anybody else who has a question for Vanessa at the moment? Vanessa, thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
We'll see how the meeting goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm now going to ask Debbie Weller if she would like to speak, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to refer, on the 5th of September 2017, there was a mediation meeting hosted by Sandford Caravan Park, where Purbeck District Council officers Jonathan Smith, General Manager and Site Supervisor for the Caravan Park, Dorset Police Licensing Officer, attended with 20 local residents, all concerned about the noise. Statements were made. They agreed there would be no music, such as live bands, except for background music, and they would change the variation, so at that time it would only be used for the season of 1st of May to the 31st of October each year, with sale of alcohol during the hours 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. outside. The licence, they would give licensing police and Purbeck District Council 14 calendar days notice and will ensure residents will be advised of various events. Residents have not been advised, as Hayley mentioned. Outdoor films at that time were withdrawn from the application due to the objections regarding the noise. Phone numbers were given, but residents have advised no one answered the phone. They went to reception, they didn't get any help from reception when the noise was reaching crescendo points, and they couldn't see the manager because he was obviously busy. It was a walk-in request. So the residents haven't been that happy with the communications with Sandford Caravan Park. Now, the Parish Council is very concerned at the impact of the outdoor entertainment, and despite the report made by Inacoustic, the sound continues further down Organford Road into St Martin's Hill, Sandford Drive, and it has on occasions, and again depending on wind direction, right at the end of Station Road, which is over half a mile away. Everyone has the right to peace and quiet and enjoyment of their own home without excessive disturbance from others. We understand the noise limiter will be fitted and we welcome it, and the noise log. And I will let the residents know that if they do complain about the noise, that will also be entered into the log, because I don't see any record of complaints, and I don't think Mr. Smith is aware of just how many complaints have been given over the years. The Parish Council strongly objects to the application for outdoor events on the grounds that the events become a public nuisance to residents. We realise businesses have been badly affected by COVID, but if the committee does decide to approve the application, then we ask the events are moved to the back of the site. Now, the fact they don't think they have enough room for it has nothing to do with it. You've got to think of the residents. When it went to the back of the site, there was very little noise that came out and annoyed them. And the hours should also be reduced to an absolute maximum of 11 in the morning to 10 at night. Because again, I know that the bars closed, that they're closing down, but the noise continues, and it is difficult for security to actually police the residents and those that are there. But that doesn't help the residents. They are still being affected by the noise of the events. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Debbie, thank you very much. If you'd like to stay there for a minute, please, I'll ask the councillors if they've got any questions for you. Please, Councillor Parker first.
I have no questions at the moment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Beer.
Thank you, Chairman. Debbie, just you only for a few seconds went quiet, not through your own, but through the connectivity. When you said the entertainment was at the back of the site, was it significantly and so proportionally much better than it was at the front? I just missed your comment. I'm sorry.
Yes, it was. Residents, they still heard it, but it was more like background music, background noise. And once they turned the tannoy down, that was one of the big things as well, which Mr. Smith mentioned. Once that had been disconnected, that was helpful. Now, you see, the tannoy and the loudspeakers were at the front, and that was where the complaints were coming from. But whenever they moved to the back, there were far less complaints and people were much happier.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm sorry to have had to come back on you on that.
That's okay.
Debbie, no subject, we don't know what the outcome of this is going to be. We're still going through this now. But are you reassured from what you've heard from the applicants that there is now will be a system in place of good communication between yourself as parish council, the residents, and that's a two-way of exchange, so you will know when events are taking place, and you will also feel that your complaints will be recorded. You will be able to get them through if they're appropriate, and they will be considered by the management. Do you feel more reassured from what you've heard today?
I hope so, although, to be honest, that was all promised at the last meeting in 2017, and not a lot came out of it. I did have a good relationship with John King and John Russ. They were helpful, not Russ, John King. But we still didn't get the information through, and the promises didn't come through. So I'm hoping with the new staff and with Mr. Smith's assurance, I hope that we will have better success for this time.
Would that reassure some of your overall concerns that, you know, let's put in place that the complaints can be recorded, they can get through, they are considered and dealt with? Would that give you a considerable more reassurance? And bearing in mind this meeting, the minutes will be public, there is a recording going on, so this is now accessible to anybody who and can be used again, is what I'm saying.
Yes. No, I would, if everything works out as they've said, I would be a lot happier. Yes.
Thank you very much. I see Elaine's got her hands up at the moment.
Thank you. There's a request to speak from Jonathan Smith, and also a comment from Gary to say that the back of the site will severely impact Sandford Drive.
That's fine. Thank you, Elaine. I'm now going to go to Jonathan. Now that we've dealt with the councillor's questions, I'm going to go to Jonathan. If you would like to come in, if you've got any questions for Debbie. But Jonathan, when I ask you, that I also mean all your team, by the way, as you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to ask everybody to ask questions. So, it's only about, Debbie, I'm confused about moving, as Gary says, actually, if we moved it to the back of the site, it would impact on Gary. But I'm confused about you saying we've moved entertainment to the back. We have never moved entertainment to the back of the site. There is no room for it to go to the back of the site. I suspect, now I am making this up, councillors, I have to say this, I'm surmising here. I am surmising, Debbie, sorry, because I don't live on Organford Road and I don't stay on the site and I'm not management. I suspect, and I know this was a concern back in 2017, Debbie, and this was the tannoy, the speakers outside reception area. Now, we switched those off and disconnected them. We didn't actually move those speakers anywhere. We just turned them off so there would be no entertainment. There was nothing going through those. But believe me, and councillors, there is no room to put this entertainment at the back. Not least it'll be close to Sandford Drive. We haven't moved the entertainment, Debbie, is all I'm saying. We've not moved it to the back. Never have done.
All right, thank you. No, it was something that a resident said to me that that is what happened. So I apologise if I misled the committee in that respect.
No, Debbie, I'm not saying misled. I suspect what has been noticeable is when those speakers have been switched off, because it would appear then there's nothing coming from the front, because the speakers councillors were actually on the front of the reception area, so yes. it was bad because they were pointing out towards Organford Road, weren't they, Debbie?
Yeah. Jonathan, are you comfortable with the reassurance that I have given to Debbie that there will be a really good communication system, two-way exchange, and that any complaints will be taken seriously? Because I think that's the reassurance Debbie would like to pass on to her parish council and the community, knowing that if they raise any issues, they will be taken seriously and they will be considered as appropriate.
Yes, I mean, to answer that, so I was going to deal with it, must admit, but certainly some of the residents have clearly got through to the telephone numbers because they refer to it in their representations, but then some say they can't get through to the number. So we will again send the number out. Ben's obviously been on the call. He's the new general manager. You'll have his email address. What I'd also like to assure you, Debbie, is we will attend a parish council meeting at the start of the season. It's also being suggested to me that we perhaps have a coffee morning at the end of the season so we can review things, how things have gone, if you wish to do that, or even we come back to a meeting at the end of it. I've also had some comments we could maybe put some information on the parish council board, because I think you've got a parish council board on Organford Road, which might be a good idea so that your parishioners can see what is on the board. And Councillor Fry, I've been at Pobstown 25 years, and as you've rightly said, this is recording, and I don't want to hear my dulcet tones being recited to me when somebody says, "This is what you said, Mr. Smith." I'm waiting for any WhatsApp to come in from the colleagues who are on the call from Parkdean, but yes, you have those reassurances from myself on behalf of Parkdean, and we'll make sure we set up a general manager's contact email address as well. So, because I do take your point, Councillor Fry, it can be difficult with handover on occasions. Debbie, we were instructed or told by staff who worked with John King that letters were sent out at the start of the season with the dates, but certainly there wouldn't have been one sent out in 2020, and there were limited events held in 2018 and 2019, but you're saying they didn't go. We were told they did. So, but I can't ask John the question because he no longer works for the company, councillors.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Debbie, are you happy with those answers so far?
Yes. All I can say is that the parish council never received a copy of the letter, which had been promised. And I know some of the residents also didn't receive letters. They may have sent some out just to a few people, I don't know. But let's leave that sleeping dog to lie and let's start again, shall we?
Thank you very much. And I appreciate that.
I can only apologise if that was the case, but I can't answer for John. Sorry.
Thank you. Elaine, you've got your hands up. Then I'm aware that Councillor Beer has his hand up as well.
Sorry, that's a legacy hand. I'll take it down.
Thank you very much. Councillor Beer.
Thank you, Chairman. This is probably a really harsh question, but it's in my mind, and I think I should ask it really of Jonathan or indeed the manager. You've got the communications all in place. People know to get in touch with. It's a busy site. It's probably August bank holiday, and everyone's getting a bit stressed. The season's coming to an end. Some people ring up, or a person rings up. When do you decide, is that vindictive, or when do you take it seriously? The calls come through, you log it, you do everything legally, but what actually happens to sort out the problem on the night? may I ask? Oh, that's a really difficult question, but it's something that I think needs to be asked.
It's not really, sir, because assuming this is noise from entertainment, which it's likely to be, if it was noise from people, the security team would deal. I'm assuming, because obviously we're talking about noise and regulated entertainment here, what would happen, councillors, and I'm going to, if anybody wants to correct me from my client, please type in now, but there are 3 noise measuring points that I've mentioned here that have been provided to Vanessa. And they would go to those points. We actually have calibrated equipment that, because they have these in other places, that this is not unusual that they have residents nearby. So they actually have a calibrated handheld noise reading device, and they would actually go and monitor the noise levels at those points. If it's too loud, it's very simple. They're on the radio and they get the music turned down, councillor.
So can I just come in there? So are these noise monitoring devices? I know you've got the device in the area that limits the noise. Will there be monitors out in the community on your land to indicate what the noise is further, or was that just part of the test?
They're handheld devices that you actually carry out with you. They're like calibrated, they're like mobile sound calibrated devices, councillors. They're not static, because you can't put, obviously you can't put one in the pavement or somebody's house. So it's
would it be reasonable, practical and sensible that when the music starts you do take one up the road, because I'm aware of some of the residents on this road further away, that you actually just carry out a further test further away up the road, and I forget the location what it's called, but I know that Debbie was saying that there was noise half a mile away. Out of interest, to gather that the music on the right note, on the right sound with the wind behind it.
Well, what we've said to Vanessa is, and I guess I've just gone through the discussions we've had with the EHO, because I'm not a technical guy on noise, is that we suggested 3 noise measuring points, which we felt were in the direction of the residential properties. And this is where we get technical and need to ask Anthony, but as long as the music isn't louder than X at that point, it shouldn't be louder than Y at a further point further on. Does that make sense, sir?
Yes, it does. But I'm conscious
how far you go in where do you keep?
And Anthony might want to come in at this point, because I'm aware that what I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but I'm also conscious in the right wind, in the right environment, the right temperature conditions, sound could travel further than the nearest people, if that makes sense. So it could be quieter closer than it is further away.
Anthony, is that what? Shall I ask Anthony to answer that for you, councillor?
Hello again. Yeah, so you're absolutely right that sound does travel in funny ways. The odd effects that you sometimes get when you're a bit further away are often as a result of a temperature inversion. So it's been a lovely hot day, sun's gone down, the air gets cold, obviously, as the sun's gone down, but the ground is warm. And so what happens is the sound goes up in the air, flies over the top of the hot sound, and comes down in a weird and wonderful place that you could never even imagine. You could never predict it would land where it does. It's important to stress, though, that although a temperature inversion will throw sound in funny ways, the basic attenuation factor of sound is distance ultimately, and that will remain a constant. And so although something is further away, it may be perceived to be loud relative to what's already, relative to what people normally experience in that area, but that number will not be any louder than it is closer to the source. Certainly at R1, R2, and MP1, MP2 and MP3, which are obviously in near proximity to the site, it won't be any louder at a point half a mile away than it is at those closest positions. So unfortunately, temperature inversions, they do happen. When they happen, it's you can't predict it. I suspect also as well what happens in these areas is obviously because these receptors are a bit further away from the main road, the A351, their background sound climate is probably a bit quieter as well than it is at those closest receptors. So it might stand out a little bit more than what they're normally used to. But ultimately the noise, it physically cannot be any louder than what it is closest to the source. So hopefully that answers your questions, and happy to take a question if it's felt it's needed.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Anthony. I've got Elaine with a hand up at the moment. If you could stay there for a minute, please, Anthony.
Thank you. It's a question from Debbie Weller. She asks, if a resident complains of noise, but the receptors do not register this, can a member of staff use the handheld monitor at the point of the complaint?
Yes, the handheld monitors are used by members of staff. That's who do it. They're trained in how to do it, councillors.
Do you have those on site, Jonathan? Do the staff have those handheld monitors on site? So if a complaint comes in from a quarter of a mile away, it's not unreasonable to anticipate or expect a member of the staff to pop out with the handheld device and take a reading.
Yes, we don't get Anthony down to do it, councillors. We do it ourselves, and we've got the handheld devices there to do the noise reading.
So Debbie, does that answer your question and reassure you that that can be done? If a complaint comes in, it will be looked at and picked up and can be responded upon.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for your time. That's a very useful thing, and I was sort of aware that sound can jump, and yeah, you've just reassured me that I wasn't missing a loop there somewhere. Thank you. Okay, just check where I'm back on track again now. Vince Berridge. Are you there, Vince?
Sorry, yeah, the battery's going flat, I'm afraid. Might end up having to cut short. But no, I haven't got any questions, thanks.
Do you have any further points you want to make, or any objections or any concerns, or any, are you pleased with what you've heard so far? Reassured?
Oh, as long as the noise, the monitor works properly and people sort of keep it working, it's kind of reassuring. But it's I think everyone is sort of thinking on the same lines. It is going to be it's a noise that's going to be the problem, and you can only hope that what's been said to be carried out.
Okay, thank you very much. As Vince, any other points you'd like to raise at this time?
No, thanks. No.
Does anybody have any questions for Vince Berridge at all? I will take silence as no questions at all, and I'll just give it a second pause. Thank you very much. Right, I'm now going to go to Gary Player.
Hello. Yeah, I've got a question for Mr. Smith. A couple of times during when he was speaking, he seemed to be implying that if the license variation was refused, then he's still legally entitled to go ahead with any entertainment. Is that the case?
Yes, we're still entitled, Gary. Do you mind me calling you Gary?
No, it's fine.
Gary, yes, we're still entitled, and I'm sure the legal team and licensing officer will advise the councillors. It's in the policy at Dorset, and it's the law actually, Gary. It was passed back in 2012. If you know a chap called Fergal Sharkey, he was behind this, and the Musicians Union, and it was to enable premises to play live and record. I've got a feedback. I don't know. So can you all hear me okay? Because I've got feedback at my end.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Smith, could you start your presentation again? I was actually dropped out there. Could you?
Sorry. Did you hear Gary's question, councillor?
No. I heard a question, but I'm not sure it's the one you're answering now. I dropped out for a whole minute.
Gary, can you repeat your question for the benefit of Councillor Beer? This is one of the things we're having to struggle with all of us on technical problems. So, and I'm conscious this might happen at any time, but we're lucky so far it's only the once. If you could repeat, please.
Yeah, sure. My question was, if the license variation is refused, then can you still legally go ahead with the external entertainment? Presumably that excludes films, of course, because I think that was an extra subject to extra limits.
Yes, so to answer the question, Gary, and it's in the policy, council, I'm sure you've got it, and legal would advise you that you can play live music, you can have performances of dance, you can have plays, and entertainment of a similar kind to those, whether or not you have a license for those between 8 in the morning, although we've only asked it for 10 until 11 at night for up to 500 people, Gary, to answer your question. It's legislation.
So if the license is refused, will you still go ahead?
I'm sure they will. It would still enable children entertainers to do their entertainment, and it will still allow the live visiting bands to come along and provide entertainment. I'm sure, however, I think we'd be rather churlish to say, well, if you refuse it, we're not going to put the noise limiter in. I'm sure we'd still stick the noise limiter in because, Gary, what we still owe, of course, is an obligation. I'm sure Vanessa will confirm that we can't create a statutory noise nuisance. Otherwise, we can have a noise abatement notice slammed on us. And likewise, Gary, if we do make a noise that disturbs people from bands, then we can have this permission taken off us. So there can be a review of our premises license. It's like one strike and you're out. So if there is a proven complaint and there's a nuisance being caused, then Vanessa can apply for a review and we can lose that permission for the entertainment that we can provide.
Okay.
Gary, I just want to come in there and reassure you. The Licensing Act has quite a few anomalies in it that we all have to work with. But the one thing that it's got that's very strong and reassures everybody is that the conditions and ability to review a license are very strong. And when complaints are recorded either with them or with the licensing department, they will be considered and dealt with as appropriate. And that does give you some reassurance to the community that actually the Dorset Council takes it all very seriously. Aileen, would you like to come in any else to reassure Mr. Player on this one?
Just to add that what Jonathan has said is correct. If no license is granted, there are provisions within the Licensing Act to allow the entertainment to go ahead. And in many ways, it is better to have a license on the site because then it is subject to review.
Thank you, Aileen. Mr. Player, does that answer your questions?
It does, unfortunately, yes.
I'm afraid that's life, unfortunately, and we have to. But to have a license in place means that it can be reviewed and conditions can also then be applied.
Yes,
if appropriate.
I guess it's down to you making sure that the applicable restrictions that you can put on that variation are in place and handled.
I would like to add though that 2017 is a long time ago, and I know that processes and systems and community involvement has massively moved on now, and we are in a far better place for the management of premises such as this. And we've heard a very lot of positive things from Jonathan and his team there, which I think they'll be held to account, particularly as this meeting is recorded, it's minuted, and they will want to keep their license.
Okay, that's fine. If it's okay, I've got a couple of comments and questions on the in acoustic.
Please do. And would you like, are you directing those to Anthony?
Yes, I think that's best, yeah.
Yep.
Hello.
Ready to
the noise limiter, which is being put on the actually, well, what is it being put on? Is it is the sound being measured via external microphone and then fed back into a limiter which stops it, or is it built into the sound system? The other question is it based on a maximum level, or is it based on an average over a time? And if so, what time period is that?
Okay, so the first question, it's not a noise limiter with a microphone. You sometimes see them with the traffic light systems, where they're constantly going up and down. They're okay, but they're a bit blunt and a bit susceptible to outside influence, should we say, covering the microphone over and things like that. So people putting beer glasses and things on them. So it does happen. Yes. so the system that we've adopted elsewhere is a system that's built into the between where people will plug microphones, guitars, and so on into the system. So between the mixing desk and the speakers, there's a tamper-proof limiter which has got a passcode on it, which obviously avoids anyone changing any dials, which physically will not allow the sound from the microphone, DJ, whatever it might be, to get any louder than what the limiter is set to. and that is calibrated during the installation process by someone like myself or you know, the installer of the equipment with a calibrated sound level meter, calibrating it to the levels that we've specified. And so they'll put a song on, for example, and adjust this system up or down until they hit that limit. And then once they find that limit, they set it, lock it, and then it cannot be altered by you know, any performers or anyone like that who you know, will not know the passcode to this system.
Yes. So the reason I was asking is it based on maximum levels or averaging? So
it is when you calibrate the system, it is an average level over typically a 5 minute period or something like that when you're calibrating it. But the way these systems work is they compress sound. So any peaks, you know, bass drums or shouts or something like that, you know, in a recorded music track, for example, they get compressed down to kind of keep the level very, very flat, so that you don't get the dynamic range that you would normally get in a song. It sounds a bit flat, which avoids the maximum peaks in a song, you know, shouting and you know, whooping and things like that. Yeah, they're all very, very compressed, so that it gives a very average sound.
Okay, yeah. So the reason I was asking basically is obviously if there's an average, then you can get obviously sounds which will go above and therefore will be louder at people's houses. They'll hear loud sounds because they will be above an average, and at other times it'll be below an average.
So the average. So the way these systems work, because they compress the sound. It is when you calibrate these things, you are using a song or a tone or something like that is quite a constant sound, and so the level that you measure, say, over a 5 minute period, in this instance, you know, we're looking at obviously limits of 84 and 73 off the top of my head. The dynamic range in a song won't fluctuate that much with these systems installed, and so you'll find at the receptors that it won't be going up loud and then, you know, 10 seconds later going quiet and so on. It squashes the sound such that it doesn't quite do it like that.
Okay, thanks very much. One last question, sorry. This limiter, it cannot be physically removed. Is that the case?
So the way they're normally installed, because the limiters are not a fan of rain and things like that, they're often installed in a racking system, which is locked ultimately because of you know, obviously being outside, you don't want these bits of equipment getting wet. And so any removal of or any bypassing of this system by cutting cables and stuff will be a very deliberate act by someone to have done that, and obviously you know, the management at the park would respond accordingly by reinstating the limiting system if that were to ever happen, but you know, that's pretty unlikely.
Okay, thanks.
Could I add one little bit to the answer, Gary, to you as well? It's slightly away from the limiter. Just so you all know, councillors, because this is a new sound system that's going in, councillors, you know what speakers are like and sound systems are like these days. They're very, very sophisticated. The actual speakers themselves are zoned. So the sound system is actually zoned into a particular area, so you can actually make sure it is, and it will be set up so it is zoned So it's non-directional towards the residential properties. And could I just clarify one point that my clients think I've offered, and I don't know whether Debbie thought I'd offered it or not, or you did, councillors. My clients think that I've offered that we will be taking our handheld noise readings around to people's houses.
No, you haven't. You haven't offered that. The question was, if you get a complaint and it's appropriately noise related, do you have the ability there to go outside with a hand meter, possibly nearer where the complaint is coming from, to assess the noise level to justification on the noise? That is all you've potentially offered.
And that's correct. I think what we don't want, and I suspect some residents won't want, is that we're knocking on people's doors to say, can we come and do some noise reading, please? And I think that led to your question, I guess. Could the noise be louder at the receptor complainant than it is actually at the point you've done the reading? So I think that led to that question. I just wanted to clarify that for the minutes, that people weren't expecting us to be knocking on people's doors.
No, that wasn't anticipated. Now, Anthony, one question. If you've got Freddie Mercury or Queen singing one of his best songs, will that sound go above the limiter for a short period? And I'm picking up on Gary Player's question there, because I don't think that covered it. Or is the sound subdued and reduced down, which then flattens the song out a little bit?
That's yeah, you're absolutely right, sir. So because the way a limiter works, it compresses the sound to make it flat and takes out the dynamic range. You know, you've obviously given the example of Freddie Mercury and you know, belting out some high falsetto you know, line. That will be very flat, and it will sound it will sound consistent with the rest of the song. So you won't get periods where, you know, for a few seconds it will be incredibly loud. The way the system works.
Does that flatten? So in principle, it flattens that the whole song is better set slightly below the limit of the level of the limiter, so that you get the whole depth and width and height of the song, rather than setting it too high, so that it's a bit like going up to a ceiling. If you don't hit the ceiling, you won't distort the music.
Exactly, yeah. So these systems are obviously a balance of sound. The limits are such that it's very well, it's impossible. The system won't reach anywhere near its capacity, and so distortion of sound and things like that will be you know, it just won't exist. So yeah, it'll be a very flat, consistent, and actually at a level which is quite nice, actually, in a way, because it won't be particularly loud, which is you know, never a bad thing, I don't think. But maybe that's just my opinion on music.
Thank you very much, Gary Player. Does that help with your concerns?
Yes, it does. I only had one other point, which was really sort of, I suppose, to you, the councillors, that on the variation, is it possible to specify where the sound system is going to be from here on in? Because I'm not sure it does at the moment.
Aileen, would you like to come in on that? I don't think we can specify that. I don't think, can we?
I would like to come in on it. I don't think it would be sensible to specify it at this point. And for one very good reason, it may not be initially in exactly the right place. My other half is a sound engineer, so I do understand this sort of concept quite well. The positioning of the speakers and the direction they're pointing is going to be absolutely fundamental in the quality of the sound and the amount of sound that goes off site. So it's really important that we leave a little bit of leeway to get those speakers in exactly the right position and give enough versatility to the park to be able to move them and adjust it if they need to.
Okay, my only concern was that that's all well and good, but at a point in the future, additional speakers are added around the site, because the area in red was quite large, so you could broadcast this sound around the whole of the site, and therefore the current assessments would not be applicable.
I think the one of the conditions offered was that they were going to run any sound through in accordance with the noise assessment that's been made, and that would certainly go on as a condition on the license. I think the key thing here is that if something goes wrong, if it gets louder, you just contact us or you put an application to review the license, and then everything is up for grabs.
And they and with the best will in the world, the applicants will not want that. And I think Jonathan will be quaking in his boots if that comes in. And although as with all the applicants, because the system has its faults, but it does work.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I like Dorset, but I don't want to be down there if I have to do.
Thank you very much. Now, I'm going to go back over it. I think everybody's had the chance to have a say. Now, I'm going to reverse the order, go back through everybody to give everybody a chance to have their say, their final words before we break from this. So, Hayley Browning has left this meeting, I understand. Is that right, Elaine?
Yeah, yes, she has.
Thank you very much. So the next person is Gary Player. Gary, would you like to sum up any concerns, any thoughts that haven't already been said?
No, that's all. Thank you very much. You've got my written comments. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Vince Berridge.
No, I think Council covered everything as much as we can.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for either Gary Player or Vince Berridge at this moment? Thank you. I'm now going to go to Debbie Weller, Wareham St Mary's Parish Council. Debbie, any points from you would like to say or sum up that hasn't already been said?
I think on the whole, most things have been said, and I understand them. The only thing perhaps that might be considered is a reduction in the hours of the outdoor entertainment. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody got any questions for Debbie at this moment? Jonathan, do you want to respond to that?
I guess only I'll get a chance in the summary, which will be brief. Only, Council, of course, the Live Music Act permits us to actually have 8 till 11 p.m. anyway, so you could reduce it, but we still be back to the Live Music Act for most of the entertainment. So,
thank you very much. Debbie, do you get that?
I did. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vanessa Gibbard.
No, I've got no further comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jonathan, it's back to you and your team. Anything further you would like to add?
No, councillors, thank you. I do actually say, and I thank for this, that often meetings are meant to be a discussion, and I do feel as if we've had quite a good discussion here today. It does strike me that that the park general manager, Ben's obviously heard of this, and an improvement with communication, and you've got it on record, and I'll make sure that Andy Kemp, who's also listening, who's my instructing licensing manager at Park Dean, we will make sure that pre-season, I would suggest, Debbie, we touch base with you at a parish council meeting, and also post-season. You've heard the conditions that we've suggested, councillors, that we'll comply with the noise report. That's already been referred to. We'll have a noise log, and I'll obviously leave you to conditionalise this if you feel it appropriate to grant. A noise log which will keep the noise readings that we will take, and those will be, I suggest, at the 3 points that Vanessa has indicated. They'll be done randomly during the evening. And yes, if we receive a complaint, they will also be done at that point, and we do have the handheld devices, councillors. So, yeah, we will improve engagement. We'll also happy to agree, which again I think is something Vanessa's asked for, that we will write at the start of the season just to remind people of the mobile security number, the office number, Ben's email address, and yeah, we'll set up, it's a good point, Councillor Fry, a generic general manager email address as well. So I do thank everybody for that, because it has actually been very constructive, and as you say, Councillor Fry, a lot of it's just about dialogue at the end of the day, isn't it, and keeping in touch with people. We are their neighbours and they are our neighbours, and what I would always ask you to bear in mind, and I know that the residents of course are there 365 days a year, and our holiday makers are there 1, 2
Have we just lost, can I start? I think we just lost Derek.
Oh dear.
Yes, I believe we have.
So we just pause for a minute while he rejoins again. The joys of technology and IT and virtual meetings, and we can talk about anything you like at the moment whilst we wait for him to.
You can talk to me about Burslem, sir.
Oh, you go out there frequently.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. Know it very well. Near Port Vale football ground.
Yeah, I'm a Stoke City fan.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
I'm just trying to call Councillor Beer back in, see if I can get
I've got one more point, Jonathan, I want to bring up, but I'll wait till Councillor Beer comes back in. One more suggestion.
Yeah, I won't say anything else, councillors.
No, that's fine.
I believe he might be back in.
I've just come back in now. Sorry, there's an aeroplane going over. I think that must have affected this.
Derek, we thought you popped out for lunch because whilst we're working.
No, it'd been very pleasant.
Thank you, thank you, Jonathan. Would you like to continue?
He's not on holiday then. Yes, and my client's just reminded me what we will do is if Debbie, if you could let us know the appropriate addresses, roads to send that letter to, and really I guess we need to get it out pretty quick really because the season's about to start. If you're minded to grant the application, councillors, if Debbie could let perhaps myself know, Debbie, just the addresses of where that's to go to, and we'll make sure that we do contact those people with the contact details with the Solus events. I've got a feeling these Solus events are the ones that between midnight 30 and 2 o'clock, councillors. My understanding is that certainly in 2020 those events didn't happen. I'm not sure. I haven't got any instructions from the park. I'd be surprised if they're happening in 2021 as well, possibly with the COVID guidance and restrictions. Yes, you've obviously heard quite a lot about the Live Music Act, and I'm not going to go into that any further. It has taken the form of a discussion, which I'm very grateful to you, councillors, having facilitated. And you've got to ask yourself what's appropriate. Is it appropriate to refuse the application, or actually can you promote the licensing objectives by granting the application but with conditions? And I do suggest everything that you've heard, particularly the sound report and the limiter, the noise readings and the conditions that I've put to you and that Vanessa has, if you like, asked us for, that you'd be quite happy that we can promote the licensing objectives, not least actually, just to remind you, is there will be a limiter fitted here, which there isn't at the moment, even though we could carry out the entertainment in any event, councillors. So with all respect, I do suggest that by you granting this application, it will promote the licensing objectives and the music. You've had a technical explanation there from Anthony, Anthony, about how it all works. And we'll carry on working together with the local residents, councillors, and I do thank you for your time. I think you've got another question for me anyway, but I would suggest it is an appropriate step to grant the application as applied for with the conditions that we've offered, and then Vanessa's also asked further, and that Debbie's also suggested we contact those people that the parish council suggest. I don't quite know how we work on that, whether that's a condition that you put in that perhaps it's the addresses agreed between the premises licence holder and the parish council. I'll leave that with you to phrase. And Debbie's just dropped me an email. I will let her have my email address now. I'll type it into her, so I'll send it through to you.
Thank you. I think the dialogue is the one thing we can't tell you who to communicate with, but I think the wider you all communicate and share information and share issues, then the happier everybody will be. That includes your staff, because they'll have less complaints to deal with. The residents on the site will have less people complaining, and the residents in nearby will have less complaints to deal with, whatever the outcome. Now, I mentioned to you, Jonathan, about the email address, and I do think that, and I take it that the landline number or mobile will be a consistent one as well, that you can publicise, and people can have reassurance that it is answered and dealt with.
Yes.
And the other thing I would wonder is what is appropriate staff training in dealing with customer complaints?
Yes. Oh, that's a good question. Yes, I mean, we can certainly look at that, because we'll need to make sure that, yes, any call that comes into security or to the reception is dealt with appropriately. And if that requires the person knowing, right, I know what I've got to do, I've got to get somebody out there with the noise monitor. I'm sure I'm just looking at any WhatsApp from my clients saying,
but no, it's also how to deal with, how to treat the respective people complaining, that people actually are complaining because they've taken the time to get out of their bed, to get dressed, to come down to you to make a complaint. Yeah. And they're not just a pain in the neck. They are actually somebody who's got a valid complaint. And how to deal with it. And then, it could be that the Park Dean management want to update Debbie when complaints have been made, what they've done about them, to actually feel it's a two-way of exchange of information, and that complaints are taken seriously and action has been taken where and when they're appropriate. Because I am aware that
I've had a confirmation, sir. That's absolutely fine. We do it anyway, and we're happy for you to require us to do it.
Thank you. Debbie, are you happy with that?
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed for all your help. I have to agree, it's been an extremely good meeting, and there's an awful lot of positive things that have come out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Jonathan, have you or your team got anything else to add?
I'm just looking at WhatsApp. You can have Andy Camp's email address as well. So his licensing email address. I'll send you that separately, Debbie. I don't have your email address. That's the only thing. So I'll send you that separately rather than putting it in the group chat.
Jonathan, are you in touch with Debbie? Do you want Debbie to come up on screen and give you her email address now? Because I'm conscious.
Probably best if she doesn't do it publicly. That's all. But okay, yeah. She's got. I've just sent Debbie my email address so she can email me separately.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's fine. Anything else you want to add, Jonathan, at this time?
No, that's all. Thank you, sir.
Councillors, anything else you want to add at this moment?
I know it's probably I'll get a rap on the knuckles for prolonging this, but just if you wouldn't mind, Jonathan, the security people. I know that all security people have to have a license and have to be up together. Are they your own staff, or the operations own staff, or the agency? Will they be fully up together with all the policies you have in place, so that they knew exactly if they got a comment who to go to, or they're just someone, I'm sure they're not, who's it's their shift and today they're at that park and tomorrow they're at Weymouth, you see what I mean? Can you just confirm that they're sounding good?
I'm just waiting for confirmation on WhatsApp from my licensing. Yeah, they are our own staff and they are park specific, so they don't travel around, and they're not from a company where you get them just employed as an agency staff. They are our own staff.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's quite an important point because there are varying degrees of how people deal with things, which, as the chairman said, is and as I went to earlier, you've got to have people you've got confidence in and that the public got confidence in and know how to deal with them properly. Thank you.
And they might also be included in the dealing with complaints training as well, so everybody is all on the same page when it comes to issues to be dealt with.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to ask our legal advisor if all the points have been addressed.
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you very much. There's not anything else you would like to add, Mr. Crowther?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, has anybody else had enough to say? Does anybody else want to say anything or question anything from anyone by anything about anything?
Chair?
Yes.
Can we go back to Aileen to do her summing up, please?
Very sorry, Aileen, I missed you there. My apologies. Aileen, would you like to sum up? My apologies. I missed you.
Chair.
How could I miss you?
I don't intend to say very much at all, except that we are here. Everybody now knows who we are. If there's any problems with anything, just contact us and we will get in contact with the park and with Jonathan to raise any concerns. Thank you.
My apology again, Aileen, and thank you for that update. Thank you.
So could I just clarify one answer? I didn't want to in any way mislead anybody at all because it's been a nice discussion. Where there's a larger event, Councillor, so one of these solus events that they go till 2 o'clock, I've just had a note to say they do sometimes have to get extra security in for those. So that would be over and above their standard security, because there's actually a condition on the licence you have to have 6 door staff for that. So they may on occasions get more in, but we will make sure those guys are also aware of the procedures on a complaint.
Thank you very much. And you will communicate that with the parish council through Debbie?
Those solus events will be communicated to Debbie, yes. If I just need Debbie to let me know the roads we need to write to.
Thank you very much. Has anybody else got anything else to say? Have I missed anybody else, councillors? Thank you, right. Right, in which case the public part of the meeting will now conclude. The subcommittee will consider its decision in private with the Democratic Services Officer in remote attendance and the legal advisor who also may be called upon to offer legal guidance. The decision of the licensing subcommittee shall be communicated to all the parties and made available on the council's website as soon as practicable and within the prescribed limit of 5 working days. Can I just point out you do have a right of appeal and you have 21 days to make that appeal if you're not happy with that. So I now need a vote to go into a closed session, please.
I propose that we go to a closed session, Chair.
And second that.
Thank you, everybody, for your time. We very much appreciate you giving up your time this morning, and we will be in touch in due course. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.